So you've been meditating for a bit. Perhaps you've been following my 30-day challenge, or perhaps you've just come to this having done a certain amount of practice of meditating by yourself. And I want to talk today about some of the issues that people get with meditating after a little bit, and you begin to notice some things and not quite sure where to go with those. Of course, I can't address everything, but just a few things that I thought I'd start with today. And the first one is really about what you might have begun to notice as the difference between thinking and the awareness of thinking. So, following guided meditations, you're invited to pay attention to sensations in the body or breathing, and you're guided through that. And you begin to notice after a while that the mind seems quite quiet, that there aren't necessarily thoughts about what's going on, but you are aware. And in fact, you are always aware. You are always aware of whatever's going on in one way or another. And that awareness is something that we're kind of beginning to become more confident as being the ground of being, as being the way we can experience things, and being less stuck in the idea that we need to think about things in order to be aware. So when you're paying attention to, for example, the sensations in your feet, you can do this now. When you're paying attention to the sensations in your feet, you don't need to actually think, ooh, tingling, ooh, cold, in order to experience. And in fact, when you do that, it kind of gets in the way of the direct experience of the sensations that are coming to you. It's more like you receive them. And the awareness is the thing that receives all of these sensations, all of these thoughts. And what we're doing is beginning to be less identified with the thing that does the thinking, which is just another part of our experience, really. But thinking is a thing that gets in the way. So the first thing is, let's start with that awareness. You don't need to try or think about experiencing whatever it is that's going on in your meditation. You kind of need to direct the attention, but you don't need to think about it. Thinking might happen, and that's okay. What we're doing instead is simply trying to be aware of everything as it arises. The thoughts arise, the sensations arise, and seeing if they can just arise and be known as they arise. So what do we do with thoughts? So some of the things that can then happen is thoughts intrude. Examples of thoughts that might intrude would be just thoughts about the day, planning the rest of the day, worries about what's going to come up, worries about things that have happened. All of these sorts of thoughts might well be intruding. In a guided meditation, you might find that happens slightly less, but certainly when you sit and try to meditate by yourself, that's almost definitely going to come in. So what do we do with these thoughts? Well, they are another thing that is arising in the awareness. Thoughts are just a thing that is arising in the awareness. The trouble is, we attach to the thoughts as very important. And in meditation, what we're trying to learn to do a little bit more is not attach to them as the important thing. So one way to do that is to perhaps label them, to give yourself a little bit of a distance between the thought and your sense of awareness of knowing that that thought is there. So you can label it, simply labeling the thoughts as, having thoughts about what happened yesterday, having thoughts more specifically about this particular person or this particular event, and name it, but you don't need to go into long details about it, just enough that you can notice that the thoughts are still there, but not be so caught up in the stories that the thoughts are telling. And then bring yourself back, bring your attention back to the experiences that are arising, that you're choosing to focus on, the sensations in the feet or the body as you're moving through the body, or the sensations of breathing. So that's one thing to do. The awareness can hold those things, labeling them in that way, helps you be less identified with them as the central part of your experience right now. So another thing that can happen is that while you are trying to, say, for example, do a body scan and you've started at the feet, perhaps you're listening to somebody guiding you through a particular part of the body, you might jump ahead, or your mind might wander off and then you'll bring it back again. Um, and you might find that you're getting slightly agitated as this happens. So agitation arising in meditation is another thing that can happen sometimes, that you don't settle in the way that you would love to settle, and that's why you've come to meditation, and I want a nice calm mind, and la 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 la. These, by the way, are just stories. So what can we do then is, in the same way that we are paying attention to, look, I've got sensations in the feet, or look, I've got thoughts about yesterday, tomorrow, whatever. Can you notice instead the attitude in the mind? So what is the attitude that's coming when you're becoming a little agitated, when your mind is jumping away and you can't bring it where you want it to be? Have you got a sense of self-judgment or criticism? Are you perhaps concerned about getting it wrong? Are you irritated perhaps with the speed at which the guided meditation is going? Are you perhaps a little bit bored? Any of these things can happen in meditation, in which case just notice them as well. Thoughts, feelings of being self-critical, judgmental, and wait. See what happens next. This is, after all, an investigation. See what happens next. Now, it might be that part of what's happening is that as you are moving through, for example, a body scan, you'll get to, say, the knees, and you notice that you're still noticing your feet, and you're worrying, should I be noticing my feet? I'm supposed to be focusing on my knees. Oh, my breathing has come into awareness, but I'm still noticing my feet. That's okay if what you're finding is that at the same time as the part of the focus of your meditation is in awareness, there are also other parts of the body in awareness. That's okay. That's an expanded awareness, and that's absolutely fine. What you're doing is beginning to allow everything to be present at the same time. And that's actually quite a nice thing, quite a useful thing. So it's okay for that to become how it is. It's not a thing to attach to. It's not a thing to go, great, look, isn't that fantastic? That's an attitude coming into the mind again. Okay, noticing, grasping, jumping, pleased with myself. Oh, right, okay. Noticing. Again, just noticing. So I suppose the point about all of this little chat here is that really what we're learning is what is the faculty of awareness. What things come into that faculty of awareness? What things can we begin to become aware of? So, as well as sensations of the body, thoughts can become into awareness. We tend to attach to them. Let's loosen that a little. Emotional, judgmental, or feeling tones can appear in the mind as well. Noticing them as well. You are always aware. Can you be aware of what you're paying attention to? Because you're always paying attention to something. So how aware are you of the things you're paying attention to? Now, I don't know if that's of any help. If it is, do let me know. That would be quite helpful to see if this is doing anybody any good. If you're following my 30-day challenge, the next week I'm going to start making them slightly longer. I'm going to increase the space where I'm not speaking to allow you some time to try seeing where your mind goes and what's going on, and playing with, can you bring your attention back? Can you learn to notice thoughts? Can you see what the attitude in the mind might be? All of these sorts of things, just to give you a little bit of more space, but not so much, because if we're just trying to get into a habit, that might not be where you're ready for. Of course, you can pop back to the beginning ones, use the shorter ones, more guided, All is absolutely fine. It's your experience. So thank you for listening. I hope it was helpful.